Hey guys, Rob Crouch here with Dwelling Reports. Hey, I'm one of the co-founders, and this is part of the series, Getting the Most Out of Your Dwelling Reports subscription. So, one of the primary ways people like to use Dwelling Reports is to provide what is called an annual real estate review. Now, this is direct out of the pages of all the real estate gurus out there, the Buffinis and the Larry Kendalls and the Ninja Selling and all that kind of stuff. They like to recommend that at least once a year you call your client to update them on their home value. Now, and I think this is a very, very high end touch for realtors across the world. And the problem with it is it just takes so dang long. I mean, you want to provide them something of your clients of really good value. And when I was producing them with my MLS, what I was doing is I had my assistant going through and circling an area on the map, pulling in all those listings, and I would put MLS sheets and maybe a little bit of data in front of the client, and I would call them, and I would say, "Hey, looks like your house is doing great. Did you guys want to get together this year to go over your home value? Would that be helpful for you?" I'd say 8 out of 10 times they'd say, "No, that's okay." And I'd say, "Okay, no problem. I'll just drop this in the mail and send it off to you, or I'll drop it in an email and I'll send it off to you." And they were always very appreciative of that. Um, but I realized I was always doing the same thing and paying my assistant, to circle the same area on the map. And so that was one of the ways dwelling reports came about. Was with dwelling reports, you can circle the area on the map for that particular client. You circle their neighborhood or outline their neighborhood on the map, or maybe a couple neighborhoods or adjacent neighborhoods. And I click go, and I always have the most up-to-date visual. From there, I can simply just put that link to that dwelling report in an email, and send it off to them. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I produce a dwelling report for clients. So let's go ahead and take a look at one. I'm going to put myself down here in the corner, a little smaller, hopefully. And let's go ahead and let's do this let's set up a new client. John Doe, and this is John at test.com. And he lives at 405 Franklin Street here in Fort Collins. Great house. It's in the Hannah Farm neighborhood. And so this is telling me, do you want to use the mailing address as the subject property? We'll just hit yes here. So a pin's been dropped at the location of this house in Fort Collins. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it really simple, and I'm just going to drop an outline here of this neighborhood, of the Hannah Farm neighborhood. So from there, I'm just going to hit done. And if I wanted to kind of specify some things, like maybe I selected a really large area, like this is Old Town Fort Collins, these are 1900 homes. Hannah Farm's like 1960s homes. I could specify ranch or anything like that and tone it down. But from here, I'm just going to hit next and hit generate report. And from here, again, this is going into my MLS because this is linked to my account. Our fake account here, Sally sells a lot's account, with her MLS. And it's pulling in all the recent data using 21 properties, pulling back to December 26th of 23. So it's going back a couple of years, and showing some trends. And so one area where I think a lot of agents get bogged down is the client doesn't necessarily need to see what their home is worth. That's a service that you could offer if you wanted to go the extra mile, but they just want to see the trends, and they want to know that you as their agent are paying attention to what's going on with their home value. So from here, oh man, you can totally see the trends. This is actually a house that I currently have under contract in real life. And you can see here, high quality homes in this neighborhood are selling on a line kind of like this. This line represents, again, all the average of all of the red dots, the sold properties. So again, this is price versus finished square foot. This is a pretty nice house, and it's sold right up here on this slightly better than average curve. These houses must have been either sold for a ton of money and aren't very nice, which actually is the case here. This is just an okay house. It's not a great house. And this one was a very, very nice house right across the street. So we sold for slightly under that. And that's a really fun thing to tell your client, like, man, I can't believe this house sold for so much money. So my delivery to my client is I will actually come up here, I'll take a look at some of the data, You can see the median days to offer is 18 and the days to sold is 50. And then I kind of point out some outliers like, wow, this house down here, that was a smoking deal. Probably should have figured out how to buy that one or one of these. Um, and then I would come up here and I would say, I would just come up here really easy and I would maybe set a little market value. Hey, I think this house is worth between, I'm going to say 515 to 525. And I'd say, hey, looks like houses of your quality are selling really well. Hannah Farm is producing great sales and homes are still moving quickly. And then I might point out one of the outliers. Seems like there were some great deals out there, and I have your home value around 515 to 525K. And so I'll just kind of set that, save that, and now this is going to update the report and it's going to drop that right in there. Now, extra credit, I use Loom to create these videos, and sometimes it's nice to actually, they can see my little face on the screen here, and I will pull up the report and I will actually give a brief walkthrough and be like, wow, I mean, it's amazing how many homes have sold in the last 2 years in Hannah Farm. Like, there's not that many houses out there. Seems like this was a really good deal and this was a great deal as well. And it seems like this house sold for more than it should have. And some of these houses are just like phenomenal up here. But this makes sense for the square footage. So I have your house right in that 515 to 525. If you have any other questions, just let me know. If there's any other, questions we can answer, if you have friends who need some questions answered, just let us know. We're more than happy. Reach out to me. And then I'll hit stop on this and I'll send them that link. And I'll send them a link to this report in an email. So that's all I'll do. And that is a great way to fill your pipeline for the next year. I find about one in every, about 8 when I'm meeting with them in person to go over this and sharing a cup of coffee with them or a cocktail or something. That turns into either a referral or a sale. And then one in probably every 20-ish that I send also turns into a referral or sale if I'm not meeting with them in person, but just shooting them this email. But they're always very, very appreciative. So I hope that's helpful for you. One thing I will say is if you want to send this report via email, you just go ahead and you can copy this link and you can just drop this thing right in an email saying, hey, client, here's your annual real estate review. It was great to chat with you on the phone. The house is worth between 515 and 525. Here's some really fun data out there for you to take a look at. This will always be updated with the most recent information. So if you just say, hey, here's the link. If you want to save this link somewhere, if they click it in 6 months or a year from now, this report will have totally different information in it because it's pulling in all the stuff that met the parameters that sold recently as well. So it's always up to date. That's a really fun touch to give your clients as well. So with that, I would drop that in an email. And then just a reminder, if you come in here and you search John Doe, that was the name of the client, you can always come back and you can view the report again. It's still here for the client. You just, let's say they call you, they say, hey, we took a look at that annual real estate review, had a question about this. Well, you can just go right into dwelling reports, hit, find John Doe, and then pull up this report right away. And then you're looking at that report. Again, this report will be always up to date with all the latest information. So super fun to click through this. Really helpful when you get a phone call from a client who you haven't talked to in a while. And if you have a profile set up for them, it can be a really special way to really talk about their home value in a really smart, intelligent way and send them the data. So I hope that's helpful for you. I totally encourage you to send a few of these annual reviews. Don't think about it too much. Just send it off. You'll be amazed that your clients will say thank you. I think extra credit for doing a screen recording and sending them that where you can interpolate some of this data for them. And also extra credit to give them a call and just say, hey, do you want to do this in person? If you do those things, you'll have a really full pipeline. I hope that's helpful, and we'll see you soon.